what I'm going to be doing, as you may have guessed already, is a terrarium. So I got the idea from Anna Shine. She had done a terrarium for Father's Day, and so I thought, well, that looks pretty cool. And I like plants, so why not? So today what I did was I went and picked up some succulents from my local Walgreens. Yes, my Walgreens. I know, I'm a frugal person, so this is another frugal finds for the gardener, okay? So what I did was I picked up those succulents, and I'll be showing you all these things shortly, but I wanted to do a brief little introduction. And I had potting soil already. I went and got a glass jar, and I got that from my local Walmart, and that was $7.44, so check your stores. And the rocks I had from my wedding, my centerpieces, and also I got some rocks from my yard. So yeah, everything else I had. So you can look for these things in your own yard or things like that. As far as the rocks goes, you may already have a lot of this stuff at home, so before you go out spending money, look around the house before you do this project. Well, anyway, I'm going to go ahead and jump in. I don't want to bore you guys. So yeah, stay tuned. Friends, so what we have here are our supplies. And again, we have the lovely 744 glass jar that I got from Walmart. We have some potting soil that I had already. And this is the Stay Green potting soil. And this particular soil helps the, feeds the plants for up to 9 months. And it keeps things growing heartily. So yeah. Then over here we just have some old rocks that I had, and then I actually picked these rocks up from outside on the ground by my garage. So yeah, those are those. And I'm doing these rocks because I want a little bit of variation as far as the layering goes. And then over here we have several different succulents that I have picked up from my local Walgreens. So all these little guys I got for about $11 and change, which is a steal, honestly. And I varied the sizes from short to tall and things like that to give me a little bit of variation, as well as I picked up a few cacti because I wanted to have a little bit of roughness and texture. So yeah, and I'm going to get ready to start with the dirt. So what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to be layering in the rocks first with the rocks. And the reason why we're going to use the rocks is because they help to allow drainage from the soil. It removes some of the water, because these particular plants, they don't require a large amount of watering. Actually, if we were to keep the lid on and we did this off and on, the environment that would be created with the lid on would actually serve as a kind of self-watering system. But because these are succulents, they tend to be low in moisture, needing less moisture basically. We don't want to have the lid on all the time, so I will primarily have the lid off, but I will alternate it off and on and things like that. And I will let you know over time how this is doing, just maybe like an update of how they're growing. And you guys can see these guys are pretty small, but I'll let you know over time how they are progressing. So essentially what I've started doing here is layering in those rocks, and I'm just placing them in no particular order. I'm just kind of simply putting them in there with a little bit of interest for the eye. So yeah, there I have dropped in several rocks, and so this is our first layer. And next we'll do that. We're going to grab our teeny pebbles. So I have my pebbles here. And these you can get from your local dollar store, a bag full, or Pier 1 if you want to spend $4 or $5 on a bag of rocks. Yeah, so I'm going to just pour these in. And I'm going to scatter them all about a little bit. And I don't have much, as you can see. Now I'll tell you a funny story about this looking for rock business in the yard. Now, you'll be surprised what kind of hidden gems you find under the rock. So be careful if you decide to embark on that kind of expedition, because I myself have found a slug or two attached to my hand. Yeah, so anyway, there we go with that second layer of rocks. So that's what it's looking like from the side. And I may even I think actually I'm not going to add any more rocks. I'm going to go ahead and add that dirt to it. So yeah, again, we're adding that potting soil, and you just want to pour it sparingly around. And even if you have a little bit of sand, another idea is to mix this up with sand, because you know, cacti and things, they tend to grow in very dry and rough kinds of soil, so that may help them do better in this kind of climate. Now, I actually may have filled it up too much now that I'm looking at it from the side, but yeah, I may have added a little bit too much soil because I didn't really want to go over halfway. I'm just gonna wing it, you know what I mean? Just leave it be. Nothing's perfect, right? So yeah, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start putting these little babies, and I'm going to give them all little names and put them in. And so we're just going to be pulling them from their little pots that they came in, and I'm going to squeeze them slightly to loosen up the soil. And then I'm going to be depotting these guys, so yeah. Okay, so depotting your succulent. What you want to do is squeeze your little pot like this to kind of loosen up the soil in case it's truly impacted in there. But because these are so small, likely that they aren't impacted at all. So what we're going to do is once we do that, they should easily remove like this. Now I'm looking at the roots of this system here, and it looks like they have been thoroughly, even I would say, overwatered, if you will. And so with that being the case, I'm not going to be watering these guys because I feel like I don't want the roots to begin to rot, nor do I want my plant to begin to die because it has received too much moisture. Okay, so I wanted to show you guys a little bit more about the roots and talk to you about that, because it's important that you know what you're doing when you're doing this. Now, this particular plant has very small, fine roots, and they don't seem to be fully formed. They're easily broken, so you want to be really careful with this particular plant's root system when you go to put it in there, because they are really fine, and even crumbling it like this can damage them. So you just want to do it lightly to loosen that soil around it when you do go to make that hole and put it in the ground. This particular plant here has a more advanced, larger root system even, and this particular plant looks like it has more fully developed roots. They are stronger and bigger, and you want to be really careful with this guy's roots because they are so large and big. They are pretty much developed, and they're going to be substantial to how that plant gets its food. So you want to be really careful about how you place this in the hole, and just observant of, you know, how you're breaking this down. What I'm going to do is I've made a little spot in my dirt, and if you can see, so what I've done here is basically I've taken that succulent and I've popped it in the little hole that I created for it, and then I've applied a little bit of extra dirt around it. And that is because I don't have very high soil. I have very shallow soil, and it's because I added those big rocks. So yeah, so this is what it's looking like from the side, and it's actually looking pretty cool. So I'm going to keep going with that, and then I'll get back to you guys and show you what it looks like once I get done. So if your area looks something like this, a hot ass mess, then you should have something like this, a nice terrarium. So as you can see, some shells. I didn't show you guys these earlier, sorry. I had originally got these shells from a thrift store, and I decided to use them. I got them for 50 cents, and it was a whole tub full of them. And I just stuck a few different shells inside. And this is what my terrarium is looking like. I tried to do a variation of higher plants and lower plants. I will say that my rocks did get shifted. What I did was I took everything out again And I didn't show you guys this because I had already showed you how I applied everything. I went back and took out just a little bit of the big rocks, basically, is what I went and did. And so this is what I came up with. I don't like how my rocks aren't as visible as they were before. But you can see that I applied some shells, and that's kind of interesting down at the bottom. And I will just go around and let you see how it all looks. So yeah, and I will say that putting the cactus in there were probably the most difficult because these guys are not friendly. They like to prick you every which way. I even had one of these long thorns actually inside of my hand. So yeah, they're not very friendly. I think I'm going to call him Mr. Grumpster. So yeah, he was not very nice to me. Were you? No. I really like, my favorite one is this one here. That little hairy one. And I think I might call him, I don't know, Fluffy or something. Something cutesy. Anyway, I'm really liking the way this turned out. I will say that I did run out of space a little bit, so I probably only needed, I have 7 of my 8 plants in here, which I am a organized clutter kind of person. I did manage to get most of them in there, and what I wanted to show you was this little guy here. Whoop! I made another one, and this is just a mini one in case you don't want to, bugs. You don't want to get a big jar, or you just want to start small. And this is a great way to kind of do that. And I did add the shells, and what I did was I took that ribbon and I tied it around in a nice fanciful way. And I reused an old centerpiece jar. I like the way this one came out a lot. This is really simple. And I do want to say that I did beat this little guy up. He's a little beat up. So I want to say that you should be really careful when you're putting these in there, because you will end up with something like this. Your plants broken. So yeah, I don't have a mother's touch exactly. So you do want to be really dainty with these guys, because they do break easily, especially if they've been saturated a great deal with water. Their leaf structure is not really the strongest, so they do tend to break. This one is pretty strong, but it did get broken off. So yeah, you do want to be really careful with that. So yeah, that is my terrarium, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching me do this, and I hope you try it out at home. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.